Hey, I'm Alex Rapper from Board Game Co, and today we're going with what I thought would make an excellent video title, and then figured out what the video would be after, which is 10 games I'd rather play solo. That's the conversation today, or that's the list we're going to see today, 10 board games I'd rather play solo. Now, if I was just a list of my top 10 favorite solo games, well, I have that. I've done that a few times now. The most recent one was maybe 6 months ago, something like that. You can check out my top 10 solo games if you want to check that out. That is not this list, although there might be overlap. This specifically is 10 games I'd rather play solo, even though they're not ranked as being best with solo. Specifically, if you go over on Board Game Geek, one of the most useful tools that site has, in my opinion, is every game has a player count. This is 1 to 5 players, this is 2 to 4 players, this is 3 to 7 players. And Board Game Geek has a ranking where you can go ahead and rank what you think that game is best at, or what game is good at. So if you see a 2 to 4 player game, maybe it's not that great with 2 players, but it is very solid with 3 and it's best with 4. You can see that conversation going on there. Not really a conversation so much as a vote, but hey. Anyways, as far as 10 games I'd rather play solo, the criteria for being on this list was they had to be 10 games that I'd rather play solo, even though they're not ranked as being best at solo. That's the specific list that we have over here, which offhand, by the way, eliminated 2 games I thought would be on this list. 2 games that were going to be on this list were Mage Knight and 7th Continent, 7th Citadel, because hey, I'd rather play those games solo. But unfortunately, BGG thinks those games are best at solo, so they're not going to make this list today. Specifically, these 10 games had to be games where in some way, by whatever margin, they were ranked as better at a different player count than solo, even though I'll admit, some of these are not the hot takes you might think they are, because many of these were rated as being very good solo, and they just weren't ranked best at solo. So I guess this list could otherwise be titled Top 10 Games That Aren't Ranked Best at Being Solo, but are pretty darn good at being solo all the same, if that makes sense for you. The other category of games that is excluded are, for me, they have to be games that solo is my preferred mode and not just good. So again, kind of hand in hand with what I said there, it has to be, other people said it's not best solo, and for me it has to be best. So for example, Unsettled and Primal are 2 games that I almost put on this list because I really like those games solo, but I like them better with more players. Solo is not my preferred way to play the game. There are ways that are really good and not actually making this list because of that. So to that end, starting off with number 10, and they are ranked a little bit. The order that they're ranked in my opinion, is the order to how much I prefer playing it solo versus playing it with other players. So that preference order. And coming in at number 10, with the closest tie between how much I'd prefer it solo versus multiplayer, is Calico. I love Calico's multiplayer game. I think it's an excellent game. I just know I've played this more solo because the solo challenges of Calico are very well done. This is a game where you're basically trying to basically deal with this board over here, where you're trying to get certain combinations of things in order to get points. You want to have different colored buttons, or the same color buttons in sets. You want to have patterns in sets. You want to be fulfilling the criteria of the little tokens in the middle that are telling you how they want to be surrounded on different sides. The competitive game of Calico is very rewarding. We each draw from a bag, try to build our board, and see who wins. But the solo challenge is so difficult and so rewarding that I find myself playing that even more than I play regular competitive Calico. And again, I think both are great, but solo is where I spend more of my time in this game because, well, first of all, it's always easy to play by myself as opposed to having to get people together, but also because the solo challenge is so difficult and therefore so rewarding to get through that I just have a lot of fun going through it. So that's going to be Calico, my number 10 over here. My number 9 is easily the newest game on the list over here, which is going to be Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is another game that I'd rather play solo, and this one's almost a hot take because one of the main reasons to own the board game is the fact that you can play it multiplayer. Slay the Spire is excellent. I've had a lot of fun playing this, both the prototype, I've also been playing this version as well, this copy since it arrived, and it's so much fun and it captures the magic of, well, deck building, of a roguelike deck building experience. It really captures the feel of Slay the Spire in a board game. But a common question has been asked around Slay the Spire: why play Slay the Spire when you could buy Slay the Spire for $15 on Steam or wherever and play it much more easily without having to do any of the maintenance stuff and getting the same gameplay experience but arguably better? And one of the compelling reasons, because there's a few reasons, one is sometimes people prefer analog, some people prefer having something on the table. Another reason is the fact that if you like something you might want multiple versions of it, and having both is good. Another reason, a very common reason, is this can be played multiplayer, whereas you can't play the regular Slay the Spire multiplayer. So if you want that cooperative experience of Slay the Spire but with being able to help your teammates, well, that's what you need this for. And they're not wrong, but I prefer playing this solo because it's so much easier to table. And again, this one is borderline as far as my preference order. Maybe I should have put this in number 10 actually, because I would argue that the multiplayer experience is better. But the amount of times I want to sign up for a multiplayer experience where I'm going to go through the full 3 arc, because make no mistake, I do not want to play one arc of Slay the Spire. I want to play the full game until we die or make our way to the end. Otherwise, I don't know why I'm here. Well, I mean, I know I'm here because the experience is fun, etc., etc., but I'm here to go through the full experience. I don't want to do a partial experience. And that means when I play Slay the Spire over here, I will play this so much more solo than I will multiplayer, because it is just easier to mentally commit myself to that experience than to commit myself and multiple people. 2-player is where I probably will play this one a decent amount, and 3 and 4, I doubt I'll ever play it. Not ever. I will rarely play it at 3 and 4 players, because I get that cooperative feeling at 2, and it's just easier to rope one person in for that longer experience than a whole group of people. So this one is debatable, because I do think the multiplayer experience is better, but I don't think I'm going to play it at multiplayer. I think I'm going to sign up for the solo mode, because it's just that much easier to table a game like this solo. Moving on to number 7 over here. So you have these two over here. Number 8. Number 8 over here is going to be Spirit Island. Spirit Island is ranked very well solo. This is one of those games that's neck and neck as far as the ratings, but 2-player, I believe, is ranked more highly. But for me, Spirit Island, and there's a few games on this list that will share what I'm about to say next as far as the reasons why I prefer the solo. Spirit Island is an incredibly intricate cooperative experience in which you are trying to manage a ton of things going on in terms of the way the spirits play, in terms of their abilities, in terms of how you're going to try to keep the invaders at bay and survive in this game. It is so challenging and there's so much to manage that I find playing this at 3 players is like the top of where I'll go. Playing at 4 is just chaos. Playing at 3 is chaos, but manageable chaos. Playing at 2 at least has the opportunity to plan together, and playing at 1 is really an efficiency engine. This game is just, if you're really trying to push the bounds of how efficient you can be, solo is where Spirit Island will thrive, and I have so much fun being able to table this game, pull it out, and go through the challenge of having the island being completely overwhelmed, and seeing what I can do to push back, either 2-handing 2 spirits. I never really go 3. I think actually no. There was one time I 3-handed, like 3 different spirits, but it's rare. Usually I try to do 2 spirits or 1 spirit, or alternatively I do play this multiplayer as well. I enjoy multiplayer, but solo is where this game thrives for me, because it gives me that puzzly experience and that feeling of complete control, because as much as I enjoy the cooperative nature of the game, there's something a little bit less satisfying about losing because you both just weren't working together properly and you just played things that didn't complement each other. It's a little less satisfying to feel like, oh yeah, our lack of teamwork, is why we lost. So I really like this game a lot, and I play it a lot as solo. Coming in at number 7, big box over here, we have Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. This is a great game, and it's a great game multiplayer too. It's a lot of fun, but the overall puzzle experience of it, I find I get what I need from it playing it solo. Again, it's an optimization puzzle. It's tower defense. You're trying to manage your heroes. You're trying to basically place your towers, manage your heroes, and take things down, but it's all about trying to place polyominoes down, and I find this game is very subject to either alpha player, when you play it cooperatively, meaning one player who's trying to find the best way to do it, and be like, oh, you should do this here and place this here and do that. So I find it's either subject to alpha player, or the alpha player just keeping their mouth shut but wanting to say things. Meaning, when I play this game, there's a few ways I play this game. I play it solo and I have fun, period, plain and simple. Or I play it with another person and I find myself wanting to give advice and holding back from it, because more often than not, I'm trying not to steamroll what you do on your turn. And then once in a while, I play it with people who I'm completely in sync with, and it really feels like cohesive teamwork. I find that Kingdom Rush Rift in Time, it's all about tower defense, all about placing polyominoes down in cars that are marching towards you. There is a way to survive, but it is hard. It's a punishing game. You have to really be on top of it the entire time, and that requires teamwork, and sometimes it requires saying things or choosing to keep your mouth shut even though you're like, we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose. And that specific aspect is why I find personally that it's one of those games that I enjoy more solo. Many games do different things to try to fight the alpha player aspect. In fact, Spirit Island does a great job fighting alpha player by making it so comprehensively difficult to actually plan together that you kind of just have to go with the chaos of what happens, which is why I do like it multiplayer, but I like the efficiency of solo. And then in Kingdom Rush Rift in Time, I'm beginning to realize, by the way, I'm realizing here as we go through this video, there's gonna be a common trend where I just want to control things, and that's why I like playing these games solo. I'm pretty sure I'm an alpha player in disguise. And what I mean by alpha player in disguise, the alpha player mechanic is the idea, alpha player idea is the idea that you have one person who's trying to tell everyone else what to do. I definitely think I have those tendencies. I usually fight them because fortunately I'm in enough of a board game space that I know that's a bad thing, and I usually try to fight those tendencies as much as possible, trying to keep my advice to be helpful without being telling you what's more efficient. But I think a lot of these games I like playing solo because then I don't have to worry about holding back what I see as a good move. This might be a telling. Anyways, that's going to be my number 7 over here, Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. My number 6 is a slightly different problem. This is going to be Marvel Champions. Marvel Champions is a delightful game. I think this game is so much fun, and I love it multiplayer. Specifically, I like it 2 players. 3 is just too chaotic for me, but 2 players is excellent. 2 players is an excellent way to play this game where you're working with in tangent, you're working with cohesion, you're trying to come up with ways to combine your characters and their abilities to take down the enemies, you're teaming up, you're helping, you're throwing good punches here, you're doing whatever. It's all great. Except I think it's still better solo. To me, Marvel Champions is a game when it's not your turn, you're just kind of waiting for other things to resolve. And because it's very number crunching, it's a very number crunching game. It's all about if I do this and I combine this and if I tap that, I'm going to add 2. Okay, great. It's all about that kind of puzzle of trying to get that most exact perfect hit as you try to take down the baddies. Which is why two-handing it is very fun, playing it solo is very fun, playing with another person is, again, a degree of trying to work together with maximum number efficiency, but it does have highlights. I do think playing this is one where, unlike Kingdom Rush Rift in Time, or unlike even Spirit Island, I do find you could find a nice happy medium at 2 players, that I definitely do enjoy it, and you could have that teamwork. It's not as hard, it's not as, I guess Kingdom Rush I find is more, you really have to say everything, and Spirit Island is almost more chaos. This is in a nice middle spot where I still very much enjoy it 2 players. But, again, as you get further down this list, they're more close or whatnot. But this one over here, actually the way around, it's supposed to be further up the list. But anyways, Marvel Champions over here is one that I still thoroughly enjoy it. I enjoy it 2-player, I enjoy it solo, but I prefer playing it more solo. I should really play this one more because it's been way too long. Coming at number 5. At number 5 we have, where is it over here? We have Assassin's Creed. And again, similar notes are going to abound over here. Let's go ahead and show you some art on the back over here. Assassin's Creed, I refrain from grabbing the big box because this table is already going to be too overloaded with games. But Assassin's Creed over here is a game that, again, is going to be a solo/cooperative game where you're operating with a degree of stealth mechanics so you try to control your assassins and try to accomplish your goals, get in and get out. It is a lot of fun, even at 2 or 3 players. I don't think I've played it at 4. I've played it at 2, I've played it at 3, and I've played it solo. For me, though, solo gives you the opportunity to really ponder every single move. To me, this isn't even about the talking to each other or about the alpha playing aspect. It's about sometimes survival is so important that you really need to think through the consequences of every single move as you take them, as to how you're going to navigate and I hesitate to say this, but even doing things and then being like, I'm going to take back that move. Sometimes when you're playing solo, it's okay to well, even cooperatively, honestly, but you want to have fun with your games. And this is a game where very often I'll do something and I'll be like, nope, that's not gonna help me survive. I need to take this back, redo that, reset the guards. Okay, this is gonna be how I'm gonna approach this. It is such a rewarding experience to go through as you level up, as you get your equipment. It's a game I don't know if I'll ever finish it because I started it, I got heavily through the campaign, and then since then it's been very infrequent. And I wonder if I just need to play it, move on from it. I need to. Campaign games, man. Campaign games are a lot. But either way, Assassin's Creed, a great game, but one that I've definitely had more freedom in the adventure by playing it solo, because I can really take my time processing through every single move and not feel the pressure of that mental downtime. The mental downtime isn't there because, well, it is there, but I'm the only one who cares. I'm not making other players think through as I try to efficiently take my actions. Coming in at number 4, we have Too Many Bones, Unbreakable just being the smallest box I can put on the table over here. Too Many Bones is also great at 2 players. I don't know if I've played it at 3 or 4. I know I played this at 2. I may have played it at 3 and 4. I played it at 2 multiple times. 3, I just don't know. But either way, I played it at 2 for sure, and I played it solo a lot, and I like it a lot more solo because of, again, that freedom to think, that freedom to optimize. This is a game where the nature of the game system does feel like you're playing your own character. So, again, I find some games are more in tune with that alpha player necessity. This one a little bit less so, because you're controlling your own characters and doing your own thing. There's definitely some teamwork, but it does feel like helpful teamwork as opposed to me telling you what to do teamwork. It feels like, oh, you know, how about, like, I'll go here, I'll attack that person from afar, what can you do? Oh, I can do this, oh, I can kite them over here. There's all these things you can do, but it feels more like you're controlling your character and working together as a team. But again, if you play it solo, you can really take your freedom and time to optimize your way through the adventure. I do find that extra level of strategy is present when you're engaging with the game solo, and of course, as was true with everything on the table here, sometimes solo also just means that it's easier to play. So there's going to be that going for it as well. That's going to be Too Many Bones, my number 3. Number 4. My number 3 is going to be very similar to Assassin's Creed, but this is going to be Tanares Adventures over here. Again, small box for accessibility. Tanares Adventures, which is going to have the same problem as Assassin's Creed, where this game, I've played this game 2-player and I've played this game solo. I like this game so much more solo. it is doable 2 players. Again, you can have the co-op experience. I played the original Arena Contest, I played Tanares Adventures, I've done them both solo, and they definitely are manageable experiences. But I just find that if your goal is to really try to survive against the enemies, and you really need to, this is a game where I don't think I've lost a game of Tanares Adventures yet, but it's exclusively been, sorry about this box falling over here, that's exclusively been because of the fact that when I play through the game, I'm trying to optimize, well, not dying. I'm trying to optimize how can I move here and take the right amount of reaction damage, and then do this, and then do that, and then go here and adjust this here. There's so much to consider on the enemy's turns. You're managing an entire AI, and it's hard to predict exactly how they're going to operate, but you can kind of predict and play it out. But it really does require an excessive amount of planning. You can check my entire playthrough series of this game on this channel. I've been doing a lot of... Did I pull the box cover off? I think I pulled the box cover off over here when I repositioned that. That is interesting how that worked over here. Let's go ahead and let this go. I have Slay the Spire is just the box cover, unfortunately, which is why this... I'm in the middle of a game right now, Slay the Spire, which is why that is. There we go. That's better now. Anyways, Tanares Adventures. Yeah, it's going to have that high degree of planning that really just makes it so that playing it solo, I find, is so much less work than trying to run it through with another person where you'd either have to alpha player or just go with complete chaos. You can survive, but it's a hard game that really requires that working together the entire time or just being able to do all the mental math and consequences on your own. Coming at number 2 is going to be Ares Expedition. Now, Ares Expedition over here, this is an interesting one because I'm specifically referring to Ares Expedition before Crisis. I've played Crisis, I like Crisis. Crisis I like great at multiple players, but Ares Expedition, the regular game, I prefer it solo, which is weird because I think this one's a big gap from where people normally prefer it versus where I prefer it. But for me, I find that Ares Expedition, I love Terraforming Mars. I think Terraforming Mars is an excellent game. And when Ares Expedition came out, I was kind of, not annoyed, but I wasn't as impressed by it because I think Terraforming Mars is better. And I still think Terraforming Mars is better, but I think Ares Expedition has its place. Specifically, the solo mode of Ares Expedition I find more rewarding. So if I'm going to play Ares Expedition on its own, before we talk about Crisis or whatever it is, I like the game more as a solo experience than as the phase play you normally go in. I like the solo challenge of trying to work through roles, having a good degree of predictability. And I think Crisis makes the game better and also makes it so you can play the multiplayer and have it be more rewarding. But specifically, base game Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, I'd rather play the game solo. And then lastly on this list is going to be one that I ranked this game. It's one of the few times I've rated a game differently depending on player count. Burncycle from Chip Theory Games is an excellent game. I have a lot of fun with this. I frequently wonder whether I should get rid of it because honestly, between Too Many Bones, between Burncycle, between Spire, there's just too many games that are incredibly thinky, that are incredibly good games. All of them are great games. There's only so much bandwidth you have at any given point to play any single game. But Burncycle specifically is one that I even rank the game differently depending on player count. I believe I said out of 3 players or more, this is a 3.5 out of 5. It's not my jam. At I think it was 3.5, then 4, then 5, I think, or did I give it 4.5? It might have been 3. It might have been 3. Okay, I think my ratings were 3.5 for 3+ players, 4 at 2 players, and 4.5 at solo. This is a really good game, but I drastically prefer playing it solo. As much as I enjoy the cooperative nature of things, I really like building my own team and trying to perfectly manage the board. It has that same potential alpha player problem, and I find the optimization puzzle of the game, the degree of planning required and the degree of growth of your characters, to me is just a more rewarding experience when I'm playing this game solo. So for me, Burncycle is one of the few games that I've even made a point of differentiating my ratings based on whether I'm playing with other people and with even how many people. So for me, this has to be my number 1 game on this list. And that's basically the 10 games I'd rather play solo. Make no mistake, there are so many games I love playing with others. There's so many times that that type of planning is different. If you're playing games like Gloomhaven, like Zombicide, like Cthulhu Death May Die, there are many great cooperative games where I find having a group of people really enables and enhances the experience. I do find certain types of games tend to really process that degree of how much planning or decision making you need to do, and how sometimes that type of planning or decision making, at least for some people, myself very much included in this list because of the nature of this list, is very much focused around that planning thought, which might work better when you don't have to run every single decision by every single person all the time, but you can just process and decide instead of having that collaborative nature. So for me, these are the top 10 games I'd rather play solo. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know down below which games do you think you prefer playing solo that aren't your typical solo game or aren't rated best at being solo on BGG. And as always, and until next time, I hope you have a good one.